Hopefully this is going to work. Good evening, everybody. We're starting over again. Tonight we're into Pashas Korach, which is Bamidbar, or Numbers. Chapter 16 is where it starts. And we're going to be going into Pashas Korach, but we're also going to focus on another thing. Tomorrow night and Thursday is, of course, the third day of Tammuz. The third day of Tammuz is the Hilula of the Rebbe, the day that the Rebbe physically left us. And so we have to be able to find some connection, because this needs to serve also as our Gimel Tammuz Farbrengen. We have to have a Farbrengen in honor of the Rebbe to be able to understand and focus on the incredible impact that the Rebbe has had on all of the world and what we should be taking from it. Okay. So we're going to start with the gist of Parshat Korach. Now, by all accounts, so just a quick what happens. Korach gathers together a group of people. Korach is Moshe's cousin, right?
From his father's side.
And it's a Harvan cause. They're both from, right.
From his father's side.
Their grandfather is Kahas, right?
Levi.
Right, they're all Levis. Moshe's father is Amram. And Korach's father is Yitzhar. Kahas had 4 sons: Amram, Yitzhar, Chevron, Uziel. Amram had 4 sons. Kahas, who was one of the 3 sons of Levi. Levi had 3 sons. Amongst his 3 sons, Kahas had 4 sons. And of those 4 sons, the oldest son was Amram. His 2 sons are Moshe and Aaron. The next one, Yitzhar, his son is Korach. That's what we're talking about here tonight. Now, Moshe, of course, was the preeminent leader of the Jewish people. Aaron was chosen as the Kohen Gadol. Korach came with the following argument. He said, okay, Amram was the oldest son of Kahas. And so therefore, as the oldest son, he gets 2 portions. He gets a double portion. So he took both the leadership and Kohen Gadol. But now what about the leader of the entire tribe of Kahas? So his argument was that should go to Yitzhar, son number 2. Which would mean who? Me, Korach. Instead, Moshe appointed as the head of the entire Kahas family the son of Uziel, the youngest son. You with me? That's who he appointed. Kahas said, what do you mean? Why does he get the job of being the head of Kahas? Why am I not the head of Kahas? Korach, I'm the son of the 2nd son of Kahas. He's the son of the 4th son of Kahas.
Who's the son of the 4th son?
The son of Uziel. That's who became the... I'm having a senior moment. Elitzaphan. Elitzaphan, the son of Uziel, was put in charge of the entire tribe of Kahas.
Which is not the 2nd son.
That would be he is a son of the 4th son of Kahas.
Not
Instead of Korach, who would be the son of the 2nd son of Kahas. Got it? Okay. And that was one of the official arguments on Korach's platform. Why did I get bypassed? Why did my father?
What did the son of Uziel get again?
Leadership of Kahas.
The entire tribe of Kahas.
Correct. Now Moshe looks at him and goes, are you kidding? Really? Moshe looks at him and says, are you kidding?
Well, why did the son of Uziel get it?
For obvious reasons. Why? Why did the son of Uziel get it?
Hashem said so.
Boom. Because Hashem said so. Moshe said, you think I wanted to be the boss here? You think that's what I wanted to do? You think Aaron wanted to be Kohen Gadol? No, Hashem said so. Hashem made me the leader because that's what Hashem said. Hashem made Aaron the Kohen Gadol. That's what Hashem said. When it came to choosing the leader of Kehas, Hashem told me who to choose. Are you kidding me? So what is really in that case? 1 second. What is the argument of Korach?
Well, what did Korach reply to that?
He didn't. He came with all kinds of arguments. Ki kol elu kulam kadoshim. Everybody's holy. It was very much lahavdil elef alfei v'ribei revavis havdalas. Fact of the matter is, it's what gave birth to, you could argue, gave birth to communism. We're all equal here. We all heard the Torah from Mount Sinai. Comrade, comrade, comrade.
What's his answer to Moshe saying, Hashem told me?
Oh, what do you mean? Why are you talking about Hashem? Why did you drag Moshe? 1 second. Your question is itself the answer.
Repeat the question.
In other words, your question answers your own question. In other words, why was it? Your real question is, why was it that Korach didn't assume that Moshe had appointed his cousin because Hashem said so?
Did Moshe say Hashem said
Of
so?
course he did.
And then
He says that like 4 times. He says, you think any of these jobs we took ourselves? What are you talking about?
he has other arguments.
So the question is, why does Korach not understand that? Right?
He doesn't take that as an answer.
Why not? What's Korach's problem?
He's just jealous.
No, he's saying we're not sure Hashem told you. Maybe you're saying it.
What's the question? Who went up on Mount Sinai 3 times 40 days?
Moshe.
Come on. Right? Right. The history revisionism that comes with an event like this that makes you a denier of absolute already established facts. Do we not see that every single day when it comes to the way how the world treats Eretz Yisrael? Do we not see that every single day? It happens every day. You wind up getting into a debate with somebody who's screaming genocide, colonizers, apartheid, blah, 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 blah. Is there something to argue with such a person? What are you talking about? Right? What are you talking about? What is? And the fact that you get into a debate with such a person makes it sound like, okay, you have a reasonable argument, I have a reasonable argument, let's try to hash this out. There's nothing to hash out. What kind of ridiculous thing is this?
They want to think what they want to think. They're not looking for an answer.
They're not looking for it. Exactly. So when Moshe tells Korach, Hashem told me to appoint this guy. You think I care? You can have my job if you want. Korach's not looking for an answer. Why is Korach not looking for an answer?
He wants what he wants.
But why? The Gemara says Korach pikachaya. He was a very smart man, a big Talmud Chacham, and he was very wealthy. He had everything. He had it all. What's Korach's problem? Here's what Korach's problem is. And this is like the ultimate conundrum. Korach comes with an argument that we're all, one of the things he says in the Torah, the entire congregation is holy, and God is within every single one of us. By what virtue did you become the boss? What's his real underlying argument here? The truth is, his underlying argument is something we've mentioned here so many times in our class. No 2 Jews were created alike. And the reason why no 2 Jews were created alike is because no two Jews have the identical mission to each other. Every one of us has our individual unique mission. Do we all have to keep all 613 mitzvahs? Of course. Yes. But within the context of all of us having to keep all 613 mitzvahs, every single one of us came into this world with an absolutely individual mission that no one in the history of the world was able to accomplish except for each of us. And no one in future generations will ever be able to accomplish except for us. Along comes Korach and says, and that's specifically because Hashem has deliberately empowered each and every one of us. Now, in the context of Hashem empowering each and every one of us as individuals, in the context of that, there's also the idea that every one of us has to bring our own energy to the table. Anthropomorphically speaking, and we're very emphasized on that word in this class, and we talked about this last week a little bit, there's something, so to speak, that we can and must accomplish in this world that, so to speak, Hashem can't accomplish on his own. He needs us. Because otherwise he wouldn't have created us. Now, Hashem created that need, of course. Because ultimately Hashem doesn't need anything. So Hashem created that need. But once Hashem creates that need, in the context of that need that Hashem creates, Hashem created something that makes it so that he, quote unquote, needs you and me to do something that, so to speak, Hashem can't do on his own. And that's why he created us.
Hashem created a partnership.
Okay. But within the context of that partnership, there's something that you have to bring to the table.
Exactly.
So now, along comes Korach and he says, we can't keep saying Hashem said so. If we're going to accomplish this goal of changing the world, we can't keep saying Hashem said so. That's his argument. At some point, we got to step up to bat and we have to be it. And bring our own it factor to the table. That's what has to happen. And so when I ask you a very logical question, when I say Korach had 4 sons, since the laws of the Torah say that the firstborn gets double portion to everybody else, so the oldest son, Amram, got a double portion, Moshe, Aaron. But then logically, what follows next is Yitzhar's son to take on the leadership of Korach. When you tell me Hashem said so, you're ruining it for me. Because then, okay, Hashem said so, then where do I come in? That's Korach's argument. Where do I come in? What am I bringing to the table? Okay, shall I walk around all day long saying Hashem said so? Then there's nothing unique about what I'm bringing to the table. I have no unique contribution. It's all Hashem said so. Once you say Hashem said so, then it's the same by every one of us. We all experience the Hashem said so as individuals. So what are you telling me? That's Korach's argument.
He's saying someone taught me that Hashem needs me. Please.
That's what he's saying. I learned the Chassidus that Hashem needs me. Whatever that means. Whatever that means. I learned that Hashem needs me.
From someone.
This is
who says Chassidut.
No,
this was never said ever before in any other text or anywhere else. That's what makes him wrong, by the way.
First of all, there are texts. Of course there are.
Desire, will. Never need. No text ever says need anywhere.
Whatever. I'm not going down that road.
You're already deep in it. You brought
Hashem
us
definitely,
deep in it.
Hashem definitely creates. When Hashem when Hashem says, why is desire and will more comfortable
Don't know, but
than need?
it's just what
And I'm saying, why is desire and will a more comfortable word for you than need?
will. Desire completely different than need. Completely different things than need. Completely.
But desire is an attribute that you can't attach to
you
Hashem
can't even-
any more than you can attach need.
But that's what we have learned though. That's what's there. Up to this moment until that teacher. Up to this moment until that teacher, never in any other text.
When you use
we
the
have
when you
will
use
and
the
desire.
idea, when you use the idea that Hashem created us in such a way, like I said, that ultimately Dir b'tachtainim can't be the dwelling place in this, the lowest of worlds, cannot be achieved unless we participate. That's not a need.
That's his will. It's not a need. It's his will. It's his desire. He can do without it. Can he do without it?
He can do without the will and desire also.
No. It has the. We can't even describe desire.
Right.
We've described that we cannot.
But we're
even-
using the word desire because it's the best we can come up with in our language.
And never.
So why can't need also be a word
How can it?
that we can't describe? Yeah. Why can't need be a word that we can
Okay,
describe?
so need and desire to you are the same? In the same category?
If you have a desire for something, then and you want to be able to achieve it, you want to be able to, and you want to be able to achieve it, you will need whatever it takes to be able to achieve your will and desire.
Need at some point means you cannot do without it. You need it.
If you can't
need
create the dir
You
b'tachtainim,
need to eat.
if you
I
can't,
need it.
if you can't create a dwelling place in the lowest worlds without our mitzvahs,
You can-
and that's what you want to
which
do.
you've created, which you don't need.
Like
but
I
you
said,
have the will to
the same way Hashem created the will, and the same way Hashem created the desire, Hashem also created the need.
That's true. Let
Okay.
me ask you something. If I say I need to eat versus I have a desire to eat, are they different? Are they completely different or not?
Not necessarily.
I need to eat. I need to eat.
Then you don't,
My
but
desire
but
to
you
eat.
don't need to eat.
Of course I do.
No, we can go without eating.
We have to have a separate video for you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're only going down there because you went. So let's.
No, I'm just telling you that's there's no reason to be uncomfortable with the idea that Hashem creates the need.
I'm not comfortable.
Just
with
like
that.
Hashem creates
Not
the desire
comfortable
and the
with
will.
that. Not uncomfortable with that.
Okay, so
At
that's
all.
what we
That
are.
He created it.
Right.
So in the same way we're saying he created his own desire.
Right.
He
Right.
created it.
Right.
Okay?
He created a
But if we
need.
say without that context, to say we need something is completely different thing. And
It's implied.
We're only having this discussion, Rabbi, because only one person in Hasidut decided without any context to say Hashem needs us. He needs us. We don't need him. He needs us. That is
Okay.
the context. We don't need Hashem.
Let's
Hashem
move.
needs us.
Let's move on.
A lot of red.
Let's move on.
So it's the same thing. I need to eat is the same thing as Hashem needs to eat.
Hashem doesn't need. He doesn't need. He doesn't want, and he doesn't desire. Hashem creates want, desire, and need.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Without that context, it's lost. Just
But you could
say,
say the same thing about desire,
yeah,
and
that's true.
okay.
That's true. You
Fine.
can say the same thing. But we cannot even explain when we say, we've talked about this many times. When we say Hashem desires, we don't have an explanation for it.
Correct.
Whereas when we say,
And that's what the metaphor
when-
is.
when
The
we-
anthropomorphism for desire is just like you can't explain a desire in a human. It's inexplicable to explain Hashem's
we
desire.
never have the need to explain Hashem's desire. Okay? But with the context of Hashem needs, we have to bring a context to it.
I don't agree with what you just said. I'm not sure I understood it, but let's go back to this.
Okay?
Maybe for another time. Okay, so Korach is trying to figure out, where do I come into this picture? And so all of his arguments that he presents to Moshe are all within a context of logic. In a very bizarre twist, Korach is trying to bring Mashiach. That's what he wants to do. He says, let's accelerate this a little bit. In order for Mashiach to be able to come, and we've talked about it so many times in this class, it's not good enough top down, we need bottom up. In order for truly to experience the Geula and the revelation of Mashiach, you're going to need bottom up. Korach's argument to Moshe is, we're not getting at the bottom, we're not moving fast enough to the transition and the fusion between the top down and the bottom up. We're not working fast enough at this. We got to work at this faster. And so I'm coming at it from a standpoint of bottom up. Where's the logic? How is this supposed to be understood? How am I supposed to be able to bring my experience to the table and be able to understand it my way? That's his argument. What's the tragic flaw of that argument? The tragic flaw of that argument is that Hashem deliberately set it up so that there's a top down first and then comes the bottom up. And the top down, in order to be able to truly appreciate, incorporate, and be able to absorb the top down, you absolutely need Moshe. When Moshe goes and chooses Yeshua, we're going to have it later on in Bamidbar, right? It's not in Devarim. Moshe says to Hashem, you have to choose somebody, who's going to replace me? Who's going to lead here? And Hashem chooses Yehoshua and says, Ish asher ruach halakim bo. He is a man who has the Spirit of God in him. The Medrash says, what does that mean, ruach halakim bo? Everybody has a ruach halakim in them, right? And the Medrash says, you know what was unique about Yeshua, which he got, of course, from Moshe? He was able to experience the spirit of every single person. That's what made him Yeshua. That's what made him Isha Sharuach Alakimbo.
Which is only attributed to Moshe and Yeshua only.
No, the preeminent leader of the Jewish people.
So in this context again, it's Moshe and Yeshua.
In the conversation that I'm giving you, yes, it's Moshe and Yeshua, but it applies, because what's the other example the Gemara gives of this? There's a bracha. There's a bracha that is made only when you're in the presence of 600,000 Jews. It's a special bracha brought down in the Gemara, that if you're in the presence of 600,000 Jews, you make a bracha, Baruch atah Hashem, Elokeinu melech haolam, chacham harazim. He is wise to all secrets. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who is wise to all secrets. Why, when 600,000 people are together, do you make this bracha? The reason why you make the bracha when it's 600,000 people, because 600,000 is a number that's symbolic of the totality of the Jewish people. And so therefore, if you're in the presence of 600,000 Jews, you're in the presence of the totality of divergent thought within the Jewish people. So when you see such a large group, and every single one of them is 600,000 people, meaning you now are in the presence of every conceivable different type of thinking that exists within the Jewish people, and you realize that Hashem knows all of these, right? So you make a special bracha, Baruch Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam chacham harazim. He's wise to all secrets. Got it? Then the Gemara adds another line. The Gemara says there's 2 times you make this bracha, chacham harazim. One is when you're in the presence of 600,000 Jews. You know what the second one is?
Moshe.
When you're in the presence of the preeminent leader of the Jewish people.
Can you say that bracha in English again?
Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who is wise to all secrets. When you're in the presence of the preeminent leader of the Jewish people, the Moshe Rabbeinu of the generation, you make this bracha as well. Why? Because the preeminent leader of the Jewish people, based on what we just said in describing Yehoshua, which is really just a description of the essence of who Moshe is somebody who can experience every single person's spirit. So when you meet the preeminent leader of the Jewish people, which we describe as nishama klalit, an all-encompassing soul, a person so great who's chosen as the preeminent leader of the Jewish people, he is an all-encompassing soul, within whom is encompassed the totality of the Jewish people of the generation that he is leading. And because of that, when you look at that person, you can make the same bracha, chacham harazim, because in his soul is encompassed all of the secrets, meaning all the divergent personalities of the Jewish people that can possibly exist. Chacham harazim. Harazim.
Harazim means
The secrets. No, the
secrets.
wise to all secrets.
It's chacham klalit and
Neshama
neshama
klalit,
klalit.
an all-encompassing soul, is somebody that you can make the bracha chacham harazim on. Why? Because as an all-encompassing soul, he encompasses all of the various secrets. It's as if you're looking at 600,000 Jews. It's the same thing. So, and therefore, we run into a very, very big conundrum, an obvious conundrum. The inability of the infinite to be finite. If you're going to try to fuse the top down and the bottom up, that's an extraordinarily difficult task. It's an impossible task. Because ultimately, all of your effort from the bottom up, will only take you as far as, even if you can have a, so to speak, out-of-body experience, a completely soul-like experience, well, 2 things will happen at that point. You will have had to, on some level, shed the body, and so therefore you're not really accomplishing fusion, you're discarding the finite, so as you can engage the infinite. And the converse of that is that no matter how high you're going to be able to reach, you're only going to be able to reach as far as your finite existence can go out of body. Because there is a limit to how far out of body you can go. So even your quote unquote infinite experience is ultimately relative to and measured in terms of finite. Follow? Okay. And that's where Moshe comes in. That's where Moshe comes in. And that's Korach's error. Moshe is the one, because he is the all-encompassing soul, so he is by definition the personification of the infinite fused with the finite. And therefore he serves as the conduit from Hashem to be able to empower every single one of us with the ability to also fuse the infinite and the finite. That's his job. That's his job as the all-encompassing soul. Because Moshe experiences this fusion in actuality, he is the one that Hashem empowers and uses as a conduit for us to be able to experience that, for us to be able to achieve it.
The only way that fusion can occur is when all 600,000 are present in Sinai.
No, every single one of us can. In other words, because you're fusing the infinite and the finite, and in order to be able to fuse the infinite and the finite, you're going to have to access an energy that transcends the mutual exclusivity of the infinite and the finite. So, and therefore, every one of us can do it individually. Not only can each of us do it individually, but somewhere in all of this context, one of us can do it for everybody. Because once you're accessing, so to speak, the essence of Hashem, and you're able to fuse the infinite and the finite, there's no more rules. We're in quantum.
But in actuality, not each one of us can do it. Only the one that encompasses all of the souls can do it.
And is already doing it.
Right?
And he's empowering us to do it as well. He's already doing it, and his job is to empower the rest of us to do it as well. Now, that was kind of heady and lofty, but it has a very, very practical application. It has a very practical application. On an extraordinarily earthy level, you have to know when yeah and when no. Or in Yiddish, to use the expression, wo ein and wo aus, when to be in and when to be out. Left to our own devices, we're never really sure. Simple examples. We've been empowered to inspire the world around us. Okay? And we're supposed to be able to be bringing Dir b'tachtonim, a dwelling place to the lowest world. Now, and when we say tachtonim, we mean tachton shein tachton l'mato yemenu, the lowest of the low that doesn't get any lower than that. Right? And that's what we're supposed to be accomplishing fusion. Okay. So then maybe the best thing we could do, since most people are uncomfortable with a mechitza, we should get rid of the mechitza so we can engage the lowest of the low. For starters. I mean, the list for sure goes on, right?
And go eat McDonald's in order to engage the lowest of the low.
There you go.
And you said by doing that, what happens?
So the question is, why not? That seems to be kind of logical.
Sorry, I lost the beginning. We have to engage the lowest of the low.
Since we have to engage the lowest of the low,
for what power?
in order, because that's where you create a dwelling place, Dir b'tachtonim, the dwelling place. That's what Mashiach is about. So then we need to engage the lowest of the low to be able to accomplish this mission. The ultimate bottom up. Okay? So since I have to accomplish the ultimate bottom up, let's go to the bottom.
Yeah, so the question is why not?
Why not? Or better than why not is, we know we shouldn't. So how do you know when yes and when no? That's really the better question. How do you know when yes and when no?
You got to follow the instructions.
That's Moshe. Moshe is the interpreter of those instructions. Left to your own, because he's already there. Moshe is already at that state of fusion. So you don't have to worry about what's coming out of Moshe's mouth, because it's, as the Gemara says, Shechina medaberet mitoch grono. It's literally the divine presence speaking from his throat. Literally the divine presence speaking from his
I
throat.
was saying you cannot interpret it correctly without him.
Right.
The written text.
Right. Because ultimately your goal is the fusion of the lowest of the low with the highest of the high. It becomes a tough call. If there's even the slightest possibility that your engagement of the lowest of the low is not based on complete and total devotion to mission, but instead is something about my own ego. I figured this out. I'm doing it my own way. Then you're doomed. You're doomed. The singular way, you have to be able to have real clarity of vision of what it is that you're trying to do. I'll give you a simple example. I'm not afraid to say this. The conservative movement in America, the Jewish conservative movement, the founders of the conservative movement in the United States were all from Yidden. The rabbis were all from Yidden. Observant Jews, Jews who were Orthodox themselves. And so then how did it wind up looking what it looks like today? How'd that happen? It happened because they decided they had the idea of how, because their goal was to bring people in. We have to start to operate on the fringe of halakha, because without that, we're going to lose all these people. It's the only way we're going to get people to come in. That was their argument. And there's a famous story of a group of these rabbis meeting with the previous Rebbe, with the Rebbe's father-in-law, in the 1940s. And I always wondered about the story. Who are these people? And I realized this is who they were. They were Torah-observant Jews, living, quote-unquote, what we would call today Orthodox lives, who had become rabbis in what, quote-unquote, would become conservative temples. And the previous Rebbe in that meeting was pushing them to work with their congregations so that their congregants would grow and come closer to Torah and mitzvahs, would start to fulfill mitzvahs with greater zeal and with greater scrupulousness, being more careful in the mitzvahs. So they laughed. They literally laughed, as if one of the previous Rebbe, he's sitting in his office in Brooklyn. We're dealing with the world outside. And they said the following to the previous Rebbe. They gave him the following parable. They said, there's an inferno burning out there. There's an inferno, an out-of-control inferno burning. And in an inferno, it doesn't make a difference if you use clean water or dirty water. Dirty water can put out the fire the same way clean water can. You follow the parable? The previous Rebbe responded, your parable is a good one. You're giving a good parable. And you're right, there is an inferno burning out there. You're right, I'm not arguing with that. But think about this, the previous Rebbe said. What happens if there's an inferno burning, and because you realize you got to do something quick, you grab the first liquid that comes to hand? Because you got to do something about this inferno. And it turns out that what you're pouring on the inferno, on the fire, instead of it being water, it turns out the previous Rebbe used the word kerosene. Today, I don't know, does anybody still use kerosene for anything? I don't think so. Instead of putting water on the fire, you poured kerosene. That was the previous Rebbe's response. Now, fast forward 60 years, almost 70 years, probably since that conversation. We're already in 2026, so it could be 70 years since that conversation took place. And look what we got. Scoreboard, as we say. Right? Okay. Because ultimately, if you're going to apply yourself to this, you need a Moshe Rabbeinu, because he's going to tell you, because he's already in that state of fusion, of the top down and the bottom up. He is literally the modern day manifestation of Shechina Medaberes Mitoch Korenu, the divine presence is speaking through his throat. And so therefore, if you want to be able to understand what your next move is, you need to be devoted to Moshe. You need to be devoted to Moshe. Even in the more modern manifestation, of course, where I'm going with this, of course, relative to Gimel Tammuz, even in its most modern manifestation, today, Baruch Hashem, and I say Baruch Hashem 1,000 times, there are dozens, if not hundreds, of quote-unquote kiruv organizations that are reaching out to non-observant Jews to try to bring them closer to Torah and mitzvot. Hundreds. Of course, all of these organizations are, at best, a distant second to Chabad. For various reasons. The most obvious, we have a 30 to 40 year head start on them. Okay, we've been at it much longer than any of these, the vast majority of these organizations are really Johnny-come-latelys. And that's why, but there's another point to that. And if you think about it, if you know anything about kiruv organizations, no other kiruv organization ever has been able to establish what we call in military terms a beachhead. No other kiruv organization has come to a city utterly devoid of Torah and mitzvot and established a beachhead there and made it a Torah observant. No other kiruv organization has been able to come to Brentwood and establish itself. It can't even venture out of Pico Robertson or La Brea, Hancock Park. Why? Why not? The answer to that question is simple. Because if you want to be able to establish a beachhead in Bangkok, in Tokyo, in Morocco, in all over Russia, the list goes on and on and on and on and on, and in Brentwood, and in Bakersfield, and in S. Louis Obispo. I've been in California long enough, yeah, that I remember the days when my father-in-law used to talk about that when he first came, he traveled to these cities that were the boonies, the real boondocks, trying to find a few Jews. And he would give examples of Bakersfield, Modesto, Merced. He always loved to quote those three cities. Today, all three of those cities have full-time Chabads. That's nuts. Somebody like me who used to hear talk about them, that's nuts. I met the Chabad rabbi from Modesto. I said, what? You're in Modesto?
When was this talk?
When my father would talk about it?
Yeah,
40 years ago when I first came.
It was crazy back then.
He talked about it that 15 years before that, when he first came, he took a mobile home and he traveled and he found 2 Yidden in Modesto and another one in Merced, and he went to all these cities that are completely devoid of any Judaism. Here we are 40 years later, 45 years later, and there's full-time Chabads in all these places. That's crazy. That's crazy. Nobody else can do that. Nobody else can do that. Kathmandu, Nepal. Kathmandu, Nepal. Come on. The biggest Passover Seder in the world. Did you know that? The biggest Passover Seder in the world takes place at Kathmandu, Nepal. Usually around 2,000 people come to the Seder in Kathmandu, Nepal. And a number of years ago, there was a huge civil war going on in Nepal. And in these countries, there's nothing civil about a civil war in these countries. Nobody's being civil. These are the kinds of countries where when they go to war against each other or against themselves, it's, take no prisoners, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there was this huge war going on in Nepal. Passover was coming. They were planning the biggest Passover Seder, but all the provisions, thank you, all the provisions for the Passover Seder had come from Israel and had landed in an area controlled by the other side, not the side that was controlling Kathmandu. So now how do you get the stuff from that side to this side? They're killing each other. How do you get it? The whole world, United Nations, this one, this dummy, that dummy, is trying to make peace between these two sides. Along comes Chabad and says, we got to get this food in here. And Chabad negotiates a ceasefire. Come on, this is a crazy story. Chabad successfully negotiates a ceasefire between, like I said, there's nothing civil about this civil war. These people are all out to kill each other. When they go to civil war in those countries,
Third world.
it's third world. There's no mercy.
Looking like New York the last couple of days.
Okay, there's no mercy. Okay? And Chabad negotiated a truce to allow military helicopters from one side to fly into enemy territory, land, and load up all the provisions to bring back to the other side for the Pesach Seder. Come on. Nobody else would even try. Forget about nobody else could get it done. Nobody else would even try. But when you are connected and you get your marching orders from Moshe Rabbeinu,
Which is the Rebbe.
which of course was saying it's the Rebbe, changes everything. Because you're now listening to the divine presence speak through Moshe's throat. Now your instructions are very different. Now your own personal experience changes completely. And that's where Korach went wrong. Korach was on the right track. He was trying to make sure that the bottom up is incorporated, that we're involved, that everyone's involved. Good idea. But ultimately, the only way you can achieve the bottom up is if you're deriving the energy to be able to create a dwelling place in the lowest of low from Moshe Rabbeinu, who's been empowered by Hashem to give us the ability to achieve fusion.
So, did he not know that? Or
You see, here's the thing. That's a very good question. That's a very good question. But here's the thing about the 40 years in the desert. The question you're asking is, how's it possible that Korach missed that? The best answer I can give you for that is that the 40 years in the desert, and maybe you could even argue even before that, but definitely the 40 years in the desert post-Sinai was a laboratory. We're trying stuff out. We're learning, we're trying stuff, and we're trying to figure it out. And if we're going to follow through on that analogy. When you're in the laboratory and you're doing experimentation, you know what it is you're supposed to be doing. Every once in a while, you pour two things into a bottle and it blows up.
Can we say
That's why you wear goggles and gloves when you're in the laboratory, because you never know when it's going to explode.
ultimately his ego made him miss that?
For sure. Absolutely.
You can say
It's not even so much that his ego made him miss that. I would take what you just said one sentence further. He missed that it was coming from his ego. He missed that it was coming from his ego. When he went and told everybody, when he went marched through the camp and said, I'm doing this for you, I'm not doing this for me.
everybody.
Yeah. I'm here to, right? When he said that, it's safe to say that he meant it. Why not?
God needs all of us.
And I'll end with one more Rashi from the Torah. After Korach is swallowed with all of his people, the people still don't get it. And they come to Moshe and they say to Moshe and Aaron, Atem hamitem es am Hashem, you're murdering us all. Are any of us going to survive? Every time somebody opens his mouth, they get killed or swallowed.
Who says that?
The nation, the people come. Okay? And one of the things they say is Atem hamitem es am Hashem. Yeah, it's a pasuk in today's parsha. Yeah. So so Rashi says, what were they screaming? They were screaming, who needs Ktoret, the incense? The incense, all it does is kill people. Nadav and Avihu brought incense when they weren't supposed to, they died. Korach and his people brought incense, swallowed by the earth. This whole incense is not a good thing.
When did Korach bring incense?
That's what Moshe tells him to do.
Test.
Yeah. Come tomorrow with all your people and bring incense. And the earth opens and swallows them.
And Moshe also brings his own incense.
Yeah, Aaron does.
Aaron brings the incense.
Right.
Hashem
opens the earth and swallows them all.
But he takes their incense.
No, well, no.
He accepts the incense of Aaron.
Yes, and then Moshe tells Elazar to collect all the frying pans from the incense, because technically they were bringing incense to Hashem, even though they were wrong and they all got swallowed. But he said all of this belongs to Hashem. These are dedicated to Hashem.
I'm sorry, but what happened to the incense of Aaron? It was accepted.
Yeah.
What happened? It was consumed by Hashem.
Well, it doesn't even say that. It just says that the earth opened and swallowed everybody. So now they're all complaining, incense kills. Okay? So Hashem says, you know what, I'm kind of sick of these people.
Hashem says.
To Moshe. I'm getting sick of these people. Moshe understands between the lines that there's a plague. That Hashem is already punishing people for talking this way, and there's a plague. He turns to Aaron.
I'm sorry, but people's argument is good. What's going on here?
You're always complaining. How about you finally wake up and say that it's not the incense that kills? Guns don't kill, people kill. But because you don't want to accept that, so you keep screaming, guns kill. So Moshe turns to Aaron and says, plague has started. I heard from the Malach HaMavis, an angel of death, on Mount Sinai. He told me that incense is actually a cure to plagues, done right. So he tells Aaron, quickly, get a pan and put incense in the pan and run into the camp to stop the plague. And that's, of course, the double message is, see, the incense saved your life, didn't it? Okay. So Rashi describes an encounter between Aaron and the angel of death. Aaron comes into the camp and he sees whatever that means. He sees the angel of death killing people. It's a plague. And he walks up to the angel of death with the incense and says, stop. the incense stops the plague. So it does. See, he stops. So the angel of death looks at Aaron and says, Heinach la'asa shlichusi. Get out of my way. I have work to do. As long as you're standing there, I can't do my work. Get out of my way so I can do my mission, which is kill people. Okay? Aaron says to him, Moshe sholach oisi lahakav liyodcha. I was sent by Moshe to stop you. Moshe sent me to stop you. Continues Rashi in the conversation, and I'm adding a little bit of inflection. The Malach HaMavet starts laughing and says to Aaron, are you kidding me? Did you hear what you just said? Ani shlucha shel Makom, ata shlucha shel Moshe. I was sent by Hashem.
That part is in the Torah.
No,
That sentence-
all Rashi.
That's from Rashi.
Yes.
Rashi says
Yes.
this conversation.
This conversation is all in Rashi, but Rashi is basing himself on the verse in the Torah. And he says which verses fit this.
Do you know which verse?
Yeah,
in the
yeah, I'll
Torah?
show it to you.
Which
Yes.
verse in the Torah?
Sure, let's go to it.
Yes.
It is, here we are. It's in chapter 17,
Page is it?
page 139 in the English. You can start from verse 9. Hashem says to Moshe, right? Get out of the way. I'm going to wipe these guys out in a moment. Moshe turns to Aaron and says, take a frying pan, put fire on it, and put Ketoret, and run into the congregation and bring atonement, because it seems that the anger has already started from Hashem, and so has the plague. Okay? Aaron goes, as Moshe told him. Look how many times it says Moshe here. As Moshe told him, he runs into the congregation, and behold, the plague has already started. He takes the Ketoret, and he brings atonement to the nation, and he's standing between the dead and the living, and stops the plague. And then the last verse, we'll skip the next one, to 15. Aaron returns to Moshe to the door of the Oil Moed, and the plague has come to a stop. Ended. Okay? So Rashi's reading in between the lines here. Rashi says, how does he standing between the living and the dead? Because he stopped the Malach HaMavet in his tracks. And the Malach HaMavet says to him, get out of my way, I got work to do. He says, Moshe told me to stop you. He says to Aaron, are you kidding me? Hashem sent me. Listen to the conversation. He says to Aaron, I am Shlucha Shel Makom, you are Shlucha Shel Moshe. Trump. I trump you. Aaron doesn't back down. Because you think about that, that's a pretty heavy, that's a pretty logical argument, no? You'd think the angel of death wins checkmate on that argument, right?
Yes.
Aaron responds, Ein Moshe Omer Klum Milibo. Moshe never makes anything up. So as far as I'm concerned, if it came from Moshe, it came from Hashem. So I don't know what you're talking about, but I feel like I'm on equal footing with you here. And then Aaron says to him, to the Malach HaMavet, to the angel of death, you don't believe me? Moshe's talking to Hashem right now at the entrance to the Oil Moed. Come, we'll find out. No big deal. You come with me to the front of the Oil Moed. And if Hashem says Moshe's wrong, no problem. You go back and kill more people. And that's what it means that Aaron returns to the doorway of the Oil Moed and the plague comes to an end. That's the meaning of verse 15. Because he drags the angel of death there and finds out what? Moshe was right. So the angel of death is screaming, Hashem sent me. What are you talking about? Aaron doesn't back down. Why doesn't Aaron back down? Because you know what he knows? Ani shlucha shel Moshe. I was sent by Moshe. And Moshe in Moshe Omer Klum Milibo. I know what I'm supposed to do because Moshe told me to. And I have no problem telling you to your face that if Moshe said so, it's coming from Hashem. And I don't care that you're an angel, and I don't care who you are, and I don't care what you say your mission is. I'm connected to Moshe.
So what is the Rebbe telling us to do now?
Find one more yid and get him to put on tefillin.
One of his final messages was just do more, study more Torah and do acts of kindness.
Learn about Mashiach, so that you
about
put
Mashiach.
yourself in a mindset where you can begin to envision Mashiach in your own life and the way you behave, and the way you live life.
But didn't he mainly say all is left to do is study Torah and do kindness? Isn't that
Mitzvahs.
what he said?
No,
Isn't
mitzvahs.
Isn't that his main message at the end?
He told CNN.
What? CNN?
Yeah, it was a Sunday. They came to Dallas on Sunday, a CNN crew,
Okay.
and the reporter said to the Rebbe, "We have from CNN. Here's an opportunity for. What's your message to the world?" That's what he said to the Rebbe.
Okay, what did he say?
And the Rebbe said, "The world needs to know that Mashiach is ready to come now. Our work is our mission is to add in deeds of goodness and kindness."
That's it.
That's what the Rebbe
Add
told
to the
him.
deeds of kindness. To the world.
Goodness and kindness, yeah.
But to the Jews,
Goodness and
mission
kindness
was-
is mitzvahs.
to the Jews, his mission was, his answer was,
But not just
find
do
someone
mitzvahs.
else and-
But not just do mitzvahs. The Rebbe says it's new. All our history we've been doing mitzvahs to bring Mashiach. Now it's with a complete focus on, in our own mindset, we have to change ourselves to have a Mashiach mindset.
Which means what?
In its simplest form, yeah? If we go to sleep tonight and Mashiach is still not here, we should be in a mindset where we say to ourselves, how's that possible? I was sure Mashiach is coming today. And mean it. And of course, I'm talking to me. You're just listening. And mean it.
Is that the main thing to do, or get another?
But within the
find
context,
another year to help them.
but you still need that one more mitzvah.
Right.
So, but the one more mitzvah that you're going to do has to be done with that mindset.
Bring Mashiach.
That you're expecting Mashiach, and you're living Mashiach, and you're desperate to bring Mashiach. You're not just paving the way for Mashiach, you're living it right now.
That was his main marching order.
Absolutely.
Have the Mashiach mindset,
Absolutely.
and for the world to do kindness, more kindness. Beautiful. The way you put it up, it's beautiful.
Thank you. L'chaim, everybody. We should have this Gimel Thomas. Thank you for the tea. L'chaim.
Chaim, thank you.
We should merit to Takasi, the fulfillment of the Rebbe's mission. The Rebbe has empowered us. Clearly, the Rebbe has empowered us because look at what we've accomplished. Okay?
Yeah.
The Rebbe took cockroaches like me
No.
and turned us into, I'm not sure what he turned us into.
Don't forget what you've accomplished.
That's again, to the extent that I've accomplished anything, I've accomplished as a conduit of Hashem and the Rebbe. That's it. I'm just on a good day. L'chaim, everybody. We should finish the job once and for all. Mashiach now. All the best.
Thank you very much.